Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I'm Preeti Singh. Rules for the Citizenship Amendment Act have been notified. The Citizenship Amendment Act was passed by Parliament in December 2019. This law gives citizenship to religious minorities from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. To explain the various aspects of the Act and to understand all the intricacies of this legislation, we are joined by one of the most experienced senior advocate, Mr. Harish Salve, who is also former Solicitor General of India. Mr. Salve is joining us from UK. Welcome, Mr. Salve, to Sansad TV. Thank you for your valuable time. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Mr. Salve is one of the foremost legal minds in India. Your insights into the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 are highly valued. Could you share your perspective on the legal foundation and implications of the CAA, particularly in light of the ongoing national discourse surrounding its implementation? What is your interpretation of the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019?
See, my interpretation is simple. I've seen the interview given by the Home Minister, which was very informative about the ground realities. The state of minorities in the three countries which are theocratical, i.e. not secular but declared Islamic republics. State of minorities by definition, where a nation is theocratical, is that they don't have the rights to practice and profess their religion in its plenitude. That's what makes India secular, because we have complete freedom of practice of our religion and of our thoughts and beliefs. And these are people of Indian ethnicity, because Afghans also, to a large extent, before the divisions took place, are of Indian ethnicity. There are Buddhists, there are Sikhs, there are Christians, and then and there are Parsis, people of Zoroastrian faith. Zoroastrian faith is very closely connected with India over a very long period of time, from the time when Zoroastrians came to India. And Pakistan was born in 1947. It's part of Indian diaspora, Indian subcontinent prior to 1947. If in these countries, people from this diaspora are being treated in a manner which violates our sense of secularism, if their populations are dwindling, as the statistics given by the Honorable Home Minister establish, and India says we will give you, and a large number of them are already in India, and they are living as refugees without any citizenship rights. If India says we will fast track your citizenship and give it to you, and we accept all of you as Indians, there's nothing wrong with it. Where is the question of there being any violation of secular fabric or violation of their religious rights? In a theocratic country like Pakistan, they have created a divide. Same with Afghanistan, same with Bangladesh. They have, by their law, created a divide between two communities. So we are saying the minorities of your community will be allowed here. Pakistanis, in Pakistan, Islamic people are not minorities. In Afghanistan, the Taliban doesn't teach Islamic people as minorities, and the same for Bangladesh. So I don't understand where this argument of discrimination or where this argument of destroying the secular fabric, etc. comes from.
You have already touched this aspect, Mr. Salve, but critics argue that the CAA violates the secular fabric of India by favoring specific religious groups. So how do you respond to these concerns?
It favors minorities of Indian ethnicity who are being treated as a sub-classification and not on par with the majority religions, because those are theocratic countries. We are not interfering in anybody's internal affairs. What we are saying is Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh are declared Islamic republics. There we are saying the minorities from those countries, we will give them citizenship. I don't understand how it hurts India's secular fabric. We are giving it to Parsis. We are giving it to Buddhists. We are not just limiting it to Hindus.
Mr. Salve,
Christians are a minority in India, Parsis are a minority in India, and we're giving them.
All right. Mr. Salve, the CAA has faced significant opposition both domestically and internationally. What legal grounds do you believe justify its enactment?
This international criticism is very interesting. People are so interested in what India is doing. And of course, what they do themselves, they don't care. I don't need to wax eloquent about how people of Islamic faith are treated in America. So I think when America points fingers at others, it should be very careful. A country which is racked by racism, and we have seen what goes on. I think they have enough of their own to worry about. They should stop worrying about India. We'll take care of ourselves. But the significant opposition in India is a point of view. People say you should open it to everybody. I see the government's logic. I don't see any constitutional violation. One important point you must remember. There are two distinct aspects of the matter. One is what should be the policy of the government. And the second is what is the legality of what the government has done. I wish God had given us the resources to wipe every tear from every eye. God has not done that. There are so many others who are treated badly in their home countries, which we can't help. China, another neighboring country, has a problem the way they allegations of how they treat their Islamic minorities, the Uyghurs particularly. You have problems in the Central Asia, in other parts of Central Asia. We can't help everybody. You have problems in Burma. We can't help everybody. If we had the resources, we would have opened our borders to everybody. We don't want to do that. Now, should you have an open, liberal, open door policy, no borders policy, or should you have limitations? Are matters of policy. And I see the good sense in the government of India saying, let's first focus on building our own society up. So you have done that. Now, legally, to put it in simple language, the law doesn't say either wipe every tear or don't wipe any tear. I'll give you two simple examples. Free healthcare. It is ideal. Free education, free healthcare. It is ideal in a welfare state that every citizen should have free healthcare and every citizen should have free education of the highest. Can we afford it in India? We can't. Gas cylinders for women. Every woman deserves to have a gas cylinder. Do we give it free to everybody? No. Somebody says you give it free when the income is, say, 20,000 a year or 10,000 a year. What about somebody who's 30,000 a year? They are also living in poverty. If we had the money, we would have given it to everybody. We don't have the money, you limit it to people. So there is Article 14 doesn't mean if you do something for one, you must do it for everybody. You can have classifications. What is the basis of the classification? So the two tests are, which Supreme Court has repeatedly said, there must be a defined class, and the classification must have a nexus with the object to be achieved. We have a defined class here, minorities of three neighboring countries, clearly a defined class. What is the object to be achieved? These minorities are discriminated against in the countries, in the three neighboring countries. And therefore, they are of Indian ethnicity. So we are giving them the right of becoming Indian citizens. So if that is the object to be achieved, there is a defined class. Where is the question of violating Article 14?
All right. Mr. Salve, so what we see is the biggest concerns have been regarding the potential exclusion of certain religious groups, particularly Muslims, under the CAA. How do you address these concerns from a legal standpoint?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Are Muslims the minority community in Pakistan? They are not. Today, look at Indian Constitution. Today, Article 30 confers the right to establish a educational institution only upon Indian minorities. That means majorities are discriminated against? No. Majorities and minorities are always treated separately. The Indian Constitution, the bedrock of the Indian Constitution is you try and give extra to minorities. You try and give extra to the weaker sections of society. Because the majorities are strong enough to take care of themselves. In electoral politics, the majority will vote itself into power. The majority will throw out anybody who doesn't act in favor of the majority. That's the premise. So that is why constitutions all over the world recognize minority rights. So minorities and majorities are a well-known classification. It's there in our constitution.
All right.
So where is the question of this being discrimination?
All right. Mr. Salve, some state governments have opposed the implementation of the CAA. What are the legal implications of such resistance, and how should they be resolved?
So what is this rule going to be? Somebody will apply on an online portal and the government of India will give them a passport. So is Kerala going to say, sorry, I don't respect your passport, get out from Kerala? Or is Bengal going to say, your passport is not valid in Bengal? Do they have that right? Do they have the power? I don't understand what states mean by saying we are not going to implement. There are the Union Home Ministry on the Immigration Services setting up an online portal. That's what I heard in the speech of the Honorable Home Minister. You fill in your details. As and when you fill in your details, you'll be called for an interview by the union government, not by a state government. You give the interview, and if your papers are found in order, you're given citizenship. So what is a state going to say? You're not a citizen of so-and-so state. You may be a citizen of India. I don't understand the basis of this comment that we are not going to implement. It's not for the states to implement.
Mr. Salve, critics argue that the CAA undermines the principles of equality and non-discrimination. How do you reconcile these concerns with the government's objectives behind the legislation?
I've just said, the government's objectives behind the legislation are to help discriminated minorities. Now, they are saying there may be other groups who need help. Of course, there are so many other groups. The biggest thing is the poor people of Pakistan need help. The poor people of Afghanistan need help. Can we help everybody?
Right.
We give free education in India. Can you say, but this is discrimination? You must give every Pakistani free education also. Otherwise, it's not fair. So I don't understand this logic.
All right.
They are majority community in their own state. Now, one important argument. Are we going to decide for ourselves that within Islam, certain segments of Islam are not treated well by those in majority in their government? That is interfering in their internal affairs.
And Mr. Salve, how do you assess the impact of the CAA on India's international relations, particularly concerning neighboring countries and global perception regarding this?
Nothing at all. As far as international comments are concerned, first of all, and I make bold to say, a lot of the so-called international newspapers, the kind of nonsense they write about India, I would call it fiction if it wasn't so completely distorted and so pejorative. I think it's best we don't bother about what they say. I don't think any country has a right to say who should be given citizenship by another. Do we have a right to decide whether the Americans should allow Mexicans to come in, or we have no say? Did we have a right to comment on the famous wall, which the former American president wanted to build? Do we pass comments on the relationship between the Latin American countries? Is it our job to go and comment in Africa on how the different countries treat their tribes with each other? And if we have no right to comment on them, and rightly we have no right to comment on them, who are they to comment on us, on who we give citizenship to?
So, Mr. Salve, looking ahead, what legal challenges and opportunities do you anticipate in the ongoing discourse surrounding the CAA, and how do you envision its long-term implications for India's social and political landscape?
Let me just add one point. If the American heart is bleeding for what they say is India's failure to give citizenship to the discriminated minorities of Pakistan and Afghanistan, America's God's gift to mankind. Why don't they open their citizenship to the Pakistani communities who are badly treated in their home community? Why ask a poor country like India to take them? They are the rich, mighty America. They should take them. But no, when you come to there, they say no green card, so you no citizenship. But India, you must take everybody if you want to take somebody.
Mr. Salve, pleasure to have you on our show. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing your perspective and thoughts on CAA with us and our viewers.